What's up, millennials? A litigation firm is actually starting an investigation into the merger of Switchback Energy Acquisition Corp, which is the SPAC that's going to acquire ChargePoint. So in exchange for your time, I'm going to briefly talk about the litigation firm, then we're going to see what this investigation is all about, and thirdly, I am also going to show you what I am going to do with this information, what this information means for people like you and me, the shareholders. Now, if you own shares of Switchback Energy, let me know in the comments below, does this investigation affect your opinion about Switchback Energy or ChargePoint? Okay, I'm ready. Are you ready? Cool, let's go then. Okay, so let's first talk about the litigation firm, which is called Levi and Korsinsky. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. So who are they exactly? I'm going to read you a few things over here. So Levi and Korsinsky is a leading securities litigation firm with a hard-earned reputation for protecting the rights of investors who have incurred losses as a result of fraud. The firm prosecutes claims on behalf of those who purchased securities at prices which were artificially inflated by false and misleading statements made by corporations. Levi and Korsinsky say they have an outstanding history and achievement in challenging proposed corporate merger and acquisition transactions to improve transaction terms and increase value for shareholders. So this second part over here, it looks like they are kind of specializing in SPAC plays, in mergers and acquisitions. If you look at these cases, these are all from quite a while ago. The most recent one is from 2013. So I'm not entirely sure if they simply haven't updated this list yet or whether they just don't have any big wins to report over the last couple of years. Cool, so now we basically know what this firm is and what they actually do. So what is exactly the problem with Switchback Energy Acquisition Corp? Well, let's read this part over here. So Levi and Korsinsky has commenced an investigation into the fairness of the merger of Switchback Energy Acquisition Corporation, Switchback or the company, with ChargePoint. Under the terms of agreement, Switchback shareholders will control only 10.3% of the combined company. The Switchback merger investigation concerns whether the board of Switchback has harmed stockholders by agreeing to enter into this transaction and whether all material facts have been properly disclosed to stockholders. So as you can see, there are basically two major things in here. First of all, the 10.3%, so that stockholders only own 10.3% of the company, the merged company, and then that there are possibly unclear facts, so to say, which haven't been properly disclosed to stockholders. Let's talk about the first thing first, right? The 10.3%, because where does that percentage come from? Well, it comes from the investor's presentation, which we have talked about many times. I believe I've referenced to it basically in all my videos about ChargePoint and about Switchback Energy Acquisition Corp. So what we can see over here is the pro forma ownership. And we see a few things, right? First of all, we can see that the existing ChargePoint shareholders are going to own about 80.4% of these shares. Then the PIPE investors are going to own about 7.4%, and 2% are the founder shares. And indeed, as we can see, 10.3% are for the SBE investors, so people like you and me who hold shares of Switchback Energy Acquisition Corp. So a few weeks ago, Switchback Energy actually filed a document with the SEC where the percentages are slightly different. And just a quick shout out to Lincoln Daniel, who made a video about this more than a week ago. I'm going to link to his video in the description and probably also do a card in the corner over here somewhere. Yep. So what we can see here is the following, right? We can see that, first of all, we anticipate that upon the closing, the ownership of new ChargePoint will be as follows. And then we can see the following. We can see that the ChargePoint shareholders are going to get 77.7%, so just a little bit less than the presentation where it was 80.4%. Then the PIPE investors are going to get a little bit more, 11.5% instead of 7.4%. The initial stockholders also get a little bit more, so that's 2.5% instead of 2%. And the public investors, the public stockholders, so people like you and me, also get a little bit more, 11.5 versus the 10.3 we have been talking about. So as you can see, there's not a very big difference, 10.3, 11.5, not a big difference at all. So the question then becomes, is this abnormal? Is it abnormal that people like you and me during a SPAC like this are going to receive 10.3% or about 11.5%? Well, what I've done is I've looked at two other comparable SPACs. First of all, Hyliion, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which merged with Torrance Acquisition Corp, and also Luminar, which is going to merge with Gore's Metropolis. And just by the way, I'm probably going to make a video about Luminar next week because I think it's a very interesting price point right now. So yeah, do expect that in the next coming week. So let's first check out the post-money ownership of Hyliion, right? As we can see, 62% goes to Hyliion shareholders. The private placement investors get 20%, so these are the PIPE investors. Then 4% goes to the Torrance Acquisition Corporation sponsor shares, and 14% in shares for Torrance Acquisition Corporation shareholders, which are, again, people like you and me. So this is 14%. It's a little bit more than the 10.3 or 11.5%, of course, but again, there is no big difference. And then when we look at Luminar or GMHI or Gore's Metropolis or whatever you want to call them, we can see the pro forma ownership over here as well. First of all, we see the Luminar shareholders get 80.2%. The PIPE investors, in this case they call them the Series X investors, sounds pretty cool, they get 5%. Then Gore's Metropolis sponsor shares are 3%, and the Gore's Metropolis stockholders, again people like you and me, get 11.8%. And again, slightly a little bit more than the 10.3 or 11.5%, but again, there's no big difference here either. So to answer my question, is this abnormal? Is it abnormal that people like you and me get about 10 to 11.5%? I honestly don't think so. And then the second point, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this second point, they also stated that it might have been unclear for shareholders that we were just going to get 10.3%. As they say, they're going to investigate whether all material facts have been properly disclosed to shareholders. Well, if we go back to the investor's presentation, we can see that it's pretty clear, to be honest with you. I think this presentation was widely available. The 10.3% was pretty clearly stated, in my opinion. So yeah, again, presentation, everyone had access to this presentation. It has been online. It has been circulating all around the internet. And I think that we all kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. And I don't really think that many people thought that they were actually going to get a bigger percentage than the 10.3% that we're getting now, or the 11.5% which we're getting now. So what do you think? Is this clear or not? Should ChargePoint, should Switchback Energy actually be investigated by this litigation firm we have been talking about? Or was this clear enough? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So what am I going to do, right? Well, the short and boring and probably anticlimactic answer is nothing. I've already built the position that I wanted to build in the first place, and I'm not really looking to add anything right now or sell anything either. The investigation doesn't really concern me, and I also don't really think that it's going to have a major impact on the share price, to be honest with you. Now, don't get me wrong, because I definitely respect the work that Levi and Korsinsky are actually putting into this. Because it's very good to see that there are actually firms that are protecting people like you and me, the shareholders. Now, the merger is actually coming closer as well. I believe the merger date is going to be around the 15th of December, so keep your eyes on that. Besides, Biden is going to be the next president in the United States, and he's already said that he is going to push EV adoption. He wants to build many more new charging stations in the United States in this next decade. So that's going to be a very nice additional tailwind for ChargePoint as well. And apart from that, we're actually still not very close to the fair midpoint valuation of $24, which I've talked about in a previous video, and I'm going to link that previous video in one of the cards, should be around here in the corner. Now, this was my most popular video so far, so I guess you liked it. If you haven't seen it, definitely do so. Before you leave, make sure you let me know in the comments, do you think that this investigation could be a problem for people like you and me, the shareholders of Switchback Energy? With that being said, thanks for watching and stay safe. Bye bye!